Good morning. Thanks for joining me today. I would like to just take a moment before we start to acknowledge the great suffering that's going on around the world, whether it's through catastrophic weather events or horrible wars like the one in the Middle East. That only through acknowledging that we're all part of this experience can we be there in such a way that our strength, our courage, our wisdom, our compassion, our loving kindness can be registered in the great mind that we're all connected to and part of. As long as we're all caught up in our own little experience and we don't acknowledge that we're all part of this grand experiment on this planet Earth, we're not truly alive. So today, I'm going to read a little bit from Dropping Ashes on the Buddha, just a little exchange in a private interview between Sungsan Sunim and a student. Of course, Sungsan Sunim was the teacher of Chungan Sunim, who's going to be here in November. This particular section is called An Ambush in the Fields of Dharma. So a student walked into the interview room and bowed to Sungsan and said, Sungsan said, "Do you have any questions?" And the student said, "Yes. Great Zen master once asked his students, 'What is Buddha nature?' One student shouted, 'Guys!' One student said, 'Take the horns of a rabbit and lift the moon out of the water.' One student said, 'The bee goes to the flower.' Which of these answers is the best?" Sungsan said, "They are all bad." The student said, "Why?" Sungsan said, "The bee goes to the flower." The student said, "That's a terrible answer." Sungsan said, "Why?" The student said, "Outside the window, the tree is green." Sungsan said, "Ah, if you hadn't told me, I would have lost my way." So tell me, have you lost your way? So clouds come and go. They can cover the sun, yet the sun is always shining. Buddha nature, is it ever lost its way? So what is it that loses its way? And what was wrong with these answers? And why was the tree is green outside the window correct? Just this. The rest of it is a dream. Just this here now. Includes my introductory there about Avalokitesvara and compassion and recognizing what this is. The dream is making it up. The dream is adding something to it. These first three answers are all actually intellectual answers. They all come from an idea of what this is, rather than right here, right now, this is it. Why are we constantly running away from our lives? To see clearly, right now, right here, just as it is. See your life clearly. Be clear. Let wisdom flow. Fear, in the Heart Sutra that I read earlier, where it says, with no hindrance in the mind, no hindrance, therefore no fear. This is what I'm talking about. What's the hindrance in the mind? So I'm not speaking about right and wrong here. Clouds are just clouds. They come and go. The only difference between an enlightened being and an ignorant being is that one sees it and one doesn't. They're the same. They both have Buddha nature. They're both Buddhas. One sees it, one doesn't. And we are both all the time. Sometimes we see it, sometimes we don't. We stumble, we fall, we make mistakes, we get caught up in our views of things. Our karmic history presents itself, and bam, there it is. But to live fearlessly, from my point of view, is to acknowledge everything and not deny anything. What is that? We all have it. We all have the potential of being ignorant fools and enlightened beings. It's not one or the other. Clouds come and go. So if you lose your way, don't worry. You can't really lose your way. It's just momentary. It's just a cloud passing by. There's this subtle difference that is impossible to see from a dualistic perspective. And what creates a dualistic perspective, and thank you for pointing that out, is this idea of self. So it's not that it doesn't exist or does exist. It's the identification with it that creates the obstacle or the clouds. So you can't approach it from a dualistic view. So not understanding this, what appears to be a koan to me, is perfect, because when we're referencing anything from the point of view of self, we don't get it. Seems like we do, you know, but what's happening behind the scenes is this flow of, if this happens, that happens, you can call it. But the dynamics of energy of the universe is at work in our lives, in what we call our personal lives. So my pointing out early on about just acknowledging the suffering of the world, for me, is another way of getting out of my own personal sort of limited storm in the teacup, if you will, and acknowledging that I'm part of a bigger storm in the teacup. That's part of this. If this happens, that happens. Dependent origination, the phenomenal experience of this world. And, we're trying to talk about something that is impossible to talk about. So that's why the tree outside the window is green, or in my case, this rug is gray and I'm sitting on a, dark gray cushion. You could say these are just facts, but they're just acknowledging that this being here in this presence, in this capacity, is only capable of doing what it's doing right now. This is it. It doesn't begin and end there. This is just the play. This is just the drama that's going on this level. We're so much more than that. And the strength to carry on, to get through this world with all this craziness, and whether it's personal or global, comes from this universal non-duality place. It doesn't come from my limited view. No matter what I try to add to my life to strengthen it, no matter how much I fix up the foundation, no matter how many boards I put up on the window, global warming is going to take my house down. However, from a larger perspective, from wisdom mind, you can see what actions you can take that lessen the burden rather than add to it. You can actually see that because you are acknowledging everything that made you up right now. What is this? This shape, this form, this body, this mind, this view, this family, this nation, all of it, is a consequence of one thing after another. And so not doing is not doing. Or another way of saying it, not making is not making. It's the same old story. Just taking a breath. Where does that breath come from? Is that your breath? Do you own that breath? No. You're just breathing the air that came from Israel and South America and Antarctica and your neighbor's breath and maybe even Trump's breath. So, where do you begin? Where do you end? Yeah. Follow me? Yeah. How do I talk about what it is that Zen is, right? Or Buddha nature, really, or non-duality. Whatever labels you want to put on this thing that we're trying to get to, which is awakening, enlightenment, being a better person, just having a better life, experiencing more peace, love, and joy. All these, right, things that we label as what it is we're trying to accomplish by what it is we do. So the interesting thing about that exchange in this little Dharma koan practice there was, for me, the answer is direct experience. It's not making it up. And the problem is when you're identified with self, you're making it up. When you're not identified with self, but acknowledge self, there's something added. It's like when you recognize in your meditation that you're not your thinking. If I'm not my thinking, who am I? What is this if I'm not this thought? It's just a thought. How does it come up? But I do my best when and I'm right here, right now, just this. I'm doing the best job at being here. If I'm making it up, yeah, I'm making it up. So anyway, anything else? Well, thanks you guys for joining me this morning. Lovely to see your faces on Zoom. It's good. Thanks for joining me. Hope you have a wonderful day.